Hi everyone, welcome to the Seeds of Hope office. I'm Susan Chalkas and this is my friend and colleague Mary Ellen Schulte, and she's our office manager. And recently we had our annual banquet, and although it was small, it was very successful, but we're really sad not everyone was able to attend due to COVID. So we've put together just small clips of that evening so that everyone can have a chance to get updated and hear what's happening at Seeds of Hope. Mary Ellen, wasn't that beautiful?
It was so beautiful. Thank you to everyone who came and joined us and decorated and helped us with the silent auction. And it was a lovely evening together. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tammy, and she's going to tell us a little bit about our sponsorship program.
I'm Tammy, and I have the privilege of working at Seeds of Hope in the office as sponsorship coordinator. In Thailand, we continue to see God at work in amazing ways at Rays of Hope, which is our umbrella for several projects. This is Mally. Mally is one of the women we support under the Hill Tribes Project. Mally is a widow and has 2 children. Due to her illness, Mally can't work and is unable to provide for herself and her kids. At Grace Academy in Zambia, Emma and Liam are twins and came to us as wee infants. Just over 1 year old now, their mom passed away at their birth. Their father was a fisherman and his whereabouts are unknown. This is Mapalo. Mapalo came to us with a group of more than 20 kids just before COVID escalated. He's a single orphan. His mom has passed away. His father is unknown. Soft-spoken, Mapalo has a kind demeanor. He's quiet, has a beautiful smile, and old eyes that have seen way too much. He, like so many of the kids at Grace, loves to play soccer, run, dance, and keep fit. Mapalo's thankful to be at Grace and for the opportunity to go to school. He had never been to school before.
Yahweh,
This last year I was able to travel to both Thailand and to Zambia, and I would like to share a little bit about both those trips with you.
Everyone for coming this evening. This evening we are missing a couple of very special people, Abe Pankratz and Dan Schubert. And I just wanted to mention them tonight because they have come to almost every banquet. They have been involved in Seeds of Hope since it started 26 years ago, and both of them went to be with the Lord this year, so we just wanted to remember them tonight. Despite being in a pandemic, I was able to travel to both Thailand and Zambia this year. It wasn't easy, and to date I've had over 50 COVID tests and quarantined a total of 2 months. Thailand's requirements were by far the hardest, and we quarantined 4 weeks just for Thailand and 15 COVID tests for visiting one country. I arrived in Thailand with Bonnie, and we were meeting Shannon Dirksen. Her and her husband and Dave were in Zambia working for us. And Shannon was escorting Natasha, one of our girls who was going there for surgery. So this is Natasha. As you can see, she has a fatty tumor in between her eyes. Now, Zambia does have a medical system, but unfortunately it's not very good. And because the tumor was right between her eyes, we didn't want her to have the surgery in Zambia because we were concerned that she would have this massive scar. So they arrived in Thailand the same time as was quarantining, and it was so strange to be in the same hotel and not being able to see them because we all had to have our own rooms. We had to download an app when we arrived, and that app was to the restaurant where you put your food order in. Bonnie and Shannon and I pretty much rotated the same 2 meals the whole 2 weeks. It's actually 16 days in quarantine. And we had chicken and cashew nut and the beef and broccoli. We just rotated over and over and over again. Natasha, on the other hand, is the only person I know that actually loves quarantine. She ordered every single thing on the menu and watched 16 days of Netflix. So when the Grace Kid goes to Zambia, we know what they want. So this is Natasha. Her surgery was very successful. I want to take a moment and just to thank Gary and Clara, who are here tonight, for raising such an amazing daughter. Shannon has been not just a blessing to this ministry, but to me personally. Shannon is the one that escorted Natasha and pretty much does anything just to be a blessing. My job when I arrived in Thailand was to furnish both Bonazara and Bonarak, our 2 children's homes, the cafeteria, get licensed, hire a Thai manager, a driver, a nurse, a social worker, a psychiatrist, house parents. I don't know if you've ever watched the Seeds of Hope video where I say that God always brings the right people at the right time. Well, this trip was no exception. I've been doing this job for 25 years now, and when I was hiring my time manager, I knew exactly what I wanted. She had to speak English, she had to have experience, she had to have accounting, she had to have her driver's license, she had to be educated. And my friend Avis, who's lived in Thailand for 40 years, said to me, Susan, you need to shorten that list. You are never going to get someone in Thailand with all those things and be a Christian. And I said to her, you know what? You don't understand. God has pulled through every single time. I have no doubt. And you know what? This is and she is our new Thai manager. She fit every single one of those things and more. Her husband is a pastor. They have a ministry to the Hill Tribe people. He volunteers every week. He comes to New Rain, Rays of Hope, and he does weekly devotions. So this is him doing devotions with our kids and our staff. So God gave us 2 for the price of 1. Next one was to hire house parents. I wanted to have someone that could speak English, but I also wanted someone who was educated and loved Jesus. And so God brought us the perfect parents. This is Moe and A, and their 2 children. She has a biology degree, and they are very involved in their church. The first thing she said to me is, would you be okay if we took the kids to Sunday school every week and got our kids involved in church? So they really have taken on the kids in their home and made them into their family. They are raising the kids to love and serve God. This is Bonazar, taken from the road. So you can see the gray building on the right is the children's homes, and the green roof is where the ladies live. I'm going to quickly go through some slides just to show you what the children's homes are like. This one, there's the children's home, the cafeteria is in between, and then the girls' home is the other one. And these are what the children's rooms look like. So there's 2 children in a room. There's no hallways, so all the children's rooms face the living room. They all have a theme. And there's the living room, and even though they eat in the cafeteria, we did put a little kitchen in there so that they could have snacks and they could do devotions. So that just shows you what it's all open. And this is the cafeteria. And there's some more where the kids eat, and then they get fed through that window, like it opens up. And there they are eating as a family. And we actually made that cafeteria larger so when our teams go, they can sit there and do crafts and do things with the kids. So this is our beautiful kitchen. And these are the sinks. I wish we could get these in Zambia. These are sinks where the kids line up, and there's a pump where they wash their hands. So I'm not going to share individual stories of our children at Bonazara because their stories are very sensitive. Their young lives are filled with pain and trauma. These children have been through atrocities no child should ever have to endure. But we're thankful to God that He brought each one of them to Seeds of Hope to be part of our family, where they can be raised to love and serve Jesus, where God can heal their pain and redeem their lives. The devil might have tried to steal their childhood, but God has redeemed them, and they have a beautiful future. The ladies' side of Rays of Hope is going well. We've admitted 3 new ladies this year. One of them is Bo. So that's Bo in the middle with the blue dress. John and I, when we took our family over in 1999, which is social welfare called, and asked Avis, the founder of Agape, if we would admit a toddler, Bo, who was HIV positive and had a cleft palate. It just so happened to be Bo's birthday, so we stopped on the way home, we bought her a cake, and we went to the park. As she was growing up, it was soon realized that she was intellectually challenged and she wouldn't grow older mentally than a 10-year-old. When she aged out of Agape, she was transferred to a home for those intellectually challenged. This home was for both male and females. Bo would call Avis crying, saying that she was being abused. Avis loves Bo and asked us if we would consider admitting Bo at Rays of Hope. And we did just that, and this is Bo now, and she's so happy. Avis gets to visit her regularly, and I love stories when we see God brings things full circle. One of the babies that was at Agape's home name was Jay when we were there in 1998. We just hired Jay to be our maintenance man. The best part about this is that Om's husband is discipling him. This is Om's husband discipling Jay. I wish I could share an update on Myanmar, however, contact there is scarce. I'm not going to actually post any photos here in Myanmar just because we're going to be putting this on social media and we don't want any of our pictures of our kids there. Our kids don't all have Myanmar citizenship. They're from the hills, and so therefore, when the army finds them, they will kill them. So whenever the army goes through the town, they actually go into the jungle to hide. They're no longer allowed to buy their HIV medication, so they have to buy it on the black market. We're using our dear friend Pastor Min to get funds in, and Pastor Min, who was, anyone who knew him, he was an incredible man of God. He was a true soldier. He put his life on the line all the time for the gospel. And this year he passed away to COVID because he couldn't get oxygen. And so now we have difficulty getting our funds into the country. So please pray for everyone in Myanmar, especially the Christians, and for our children and staff. In May of this year, I got a call that there was a COVID outbreak in Grace Academy. Immediately, we were shut down by the Ministry of Health, and they came daily to check all of our kids and staff. I knew that our cafeteria staff couldn't come, and our house parents were all ill. So I booked a plane, I ordered tons of PPE, and off I went to Zambia. Oh, there's Shannon and I, so we were completely covered. And this is our kids. You can see they're all social distanced in the back. And it's so strange that Ministry of Health, they made them all social distance, but they all live in the same house. So, and if anyone has been there, they know how small those houses were, so there's no social distancing, but that's them. They all got their tests. Anyway, Shannon and I were responsible for doing all the cooking for 2 meals a day for 175 to 200 people. Egg salad was the absolute worst. We had to peel 600 eggs. I will never make egg salad again for that many people. My fingers were bleeding, they were all cut up. And Shannon was so sweet to say anything. I think she just thought I was a baby because I complained after like the 40th egg. I think the kids ate a lot of shell that day. We are really thankful to Seeds of Hope Australia, who foot the bill for instant oatmeal, pizza, Indian food subs, scones, Hungry Lion, which is Zambia's version of KFC. So here's some pictures of us just bringing all the pizzas and the KFC, that's KFC, Hungry Lion. This is grilled cheese. That was a feat too, to make grilled cheese for everybody. So I think the kids actually were thankful they had COVID, as strange as that felt, because they had never had so much takeout. I think they had more takeout that week than their entire lives to that point. I brought over different card games like Uno and Base 10 as the kids were confined to their dorms. You know, most of the kids did not have any symptoms, and they call it the COVID there. So they would say, Mom, I don't understand why I have to stay in my house. I don't have the COVID. I said, you have the COVID. No, I don't have the COVID. I said, well, let's just pretend you do and stay in your house. So, you know, they were tired of staying in their houses, so we went out and bought all this colored chalk, and every house has one sidewalk that leads to the cafeteria, so they were all allowed to draw on their individual sidewalk. Soon everything returned to normal, and I think in the end we had over 100 people test positive. And the adult staff, however, were sicker, and it took them about 2 weeks to recover. But we're thankful to God and for everyone who prayed that no one needed to be hospitalized. I'm going to introduce to you a couple of our new kids that were admitted when I was there. This is Shannon. Who's Shannon? So the baby was actually named after Shannon. And Tammy told you her story that her mom was in the hospital for mental illness. This is Veronica. When we first brought Veronica in, I wasn't sure she was going to live. She is 12 years old or 13. She's extremely emaciated. She's diabetic, and her family would not let her take her insulin because they said it was too expensive. But on the other hand, they wouldn't feed her either because they said she cost too much. And so we ended up taking in Veronica, and she's doing really well. The problem is now is that there's so much food at Grace that she doesn't understand being diabetic. She can't eat it all. So now we said Shannon Dirksen is responsible. We have two kids who have diabetes, and she does special meals just for them. I told you Shannon's pretty amazing. And this is Benson. So Benson came to us through social welfare. He lived in the drainage pipes in town, and he was beaten very, very badly because he's the weakest link. Most of the street kids are a bit older, and Benson is younger, so someone gave him a really good beating. When we first brought him, he had never been in a house, so we couldn't get him into the house. So he slept on the grass. And then even going to the bathroom, he went to the bathroom outside. We couldn't get him to sit on a toilet. And it was really heart-wrenching to watch this little boy, because he was almost like an animal in the way that he had to be trained for the smallest things, to use cutlery, anything that you think that we do, he couldn't do, except for ride a skateboard. For some reason, he picked on that, and whoever skateboard that was, he would not give it back, because that's the street kid mentality, right? It was like, fight me if you want it back. But it's been a long, long journey. The neatest thing with Benson is to see how God orchestrated everything. One of the little boys, one of the street kids we took in January came, and he said, I know him. I lived on the street with him. His name is Benson, because we didn't even know his name because he wouldn't talk. And this was Mark, and so we said, well, Mark, would you be his friend? And he said, oh, I'm already his friend. So off they went, and he took his hand. And then we thought, well, you know what, we can't really put Benson in a dormitory, because he's just, it's just too much for him, too stimulating. So we opened the clinic, put Clement, one of our grade 12 boys, in with him, because Clement has this amazingly soft heart, and we put Mark and Benson in there. And so he would go in the house because Mark went. And we got a lot of his history. So Mark said, at nighttime, some of us would go home to relatives to sleep, but Benson had no one. So he would sleep in the drainage pipes. And that's how we knew how Benson lived, all through Mark. And slowly, Mark and Clement taught him, how to sleep in a bed, and how to use cutlery, and how to use a toilet, and just basic things of life. You can pray for Benson. We still have really big challenges with him, because now it's getting him to stay in the classroom. It's like he doesn't need to go to school. He's never been to school. What's the importance of school? So we have him living in a house. We have him sleeping in bed. We have him eating off a plate. He can now play with the kids. And now we're dealing with other things like school. This is Benson now. You wouldn't even recognize that he's the same boy. I love seeing how God redeems the life of these kids from when they come in. I mean, that is just like a month later, 2 months later. The other thing I did when I was there was we had a memorial for our boy Blessing. Blessing came in when he was a young boy, and he passed away. And so we were able to honor his life, and all the kids got a balloon, and they got to write a message to say goodbye to him, and they taped it on the balloon, and we all went outside and let them up. One of the things we realized as our kids are growing up, and we're getting more and more graduates, we realized that a lot of our older kids were falling through the cracks. That at Grace Academy, they live in a very confined, for those of you who've been there, they live on a acreage outside of town. And they don't really leave those walls very much. And so while they have a great life while they live there, they were missing learning how to live outside of Grace. And when they went to university, they were struggling. So we designed a program called a transition house. We got a house outside of town, and we hired a Zambian couple. And that Zambian couple loved the Lord, and our kids go there for 3 months, and they live there, and they learn to cook both with a stove. There's Natasha baking a cake. And they also learn to cook with a brazier, which is like a little, it's an outside barbecue. You can see her there. They learn how to do budgeting. They learn how to go shopping. They learn how to find a church, why is it important to go to church? And how do I find a church that's right for me? They learn all these things. What am I going to study after school? And how am I going to get there? How realistic is it? They all want to be doctors, but if you didn't pass biology, chances are you're not going to get into med school. So they have someone helping them with those things. They can also go to FCE, which is kind of like a YWAM or a Cape and Ray in Zambia. So they're told about that option and they can do that. So the other thing is that not all of our kids are academic. So we brought over a gentleman who taught the kids all about entrepreneurship. And he did a class, a 2-week intensive course, teaching them how to, start a business. Because we tried that with a couple of our kids. One of them we gave all this money to, and he went out and he bought a whole bunch. He was going to sell track pants. So we bought all these track pants. We set them up at the market. And he sold all the track pants, and he came back and said, I need you to buy me more track pants. We said, but he didn't keep back some of the money. He had, even though we told him, he was too excited about having money. So this gentleman taught them, in an intensive course all about a business. So then they had to come up with a business plan, present it, and then when they got approved, they get half their money. And when they show that they're actually able to do it, then they're given the other half of their money. I think that we can all agree that if we could press the rewind button, we would over the last 18 months. We as humans, we want to control. We want to choose what we eat, where we live, who we marry, where we go to church, what restaurants we eat at, and so on and so forth. What we've learned in the last 18 months is it can be taken away at any time. Living in a first world country, it's easy to see how blessed we are now and how much we take for granted. I was a single mom for years, and I knew that my girls and I would never go hungry because my church family and my biological family would make sure of that. I knew that we'd always have a roof over our heads and food in our bellies. And you know what? I had security in that. We may not have always, I knew we wouldn't be well off, but I knew I could depend on my church and my family. I recently went off Facebook because I couldn't handle what I was reading. I can honestly say if I was that same single mom today, I don't think I could count on the church. My church family from the remarks that I was reading on social media. We are too busy trying to prove that our decision was the right one. John just spent time at his mom's, which gave me a lot of alone time. I spent a lot of time weeping before the Lord, asking him, how did we get here? How did a virus come in and bring so much divide? Lord, is it really that easy to divide your church? For friends to say mean things to each other? I heard this small voice say to me, only when you take your eyes off of me. I know we are all passionate about our opinions, but people, we are Christians, and we are better together. You know what? We need to use the Bible as our guide. Mark 3:25 said, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. 1 Peter 5:8 says, be alert, of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. One thing the devil has learned in the last 18 months is how easy it is to divide us. My friends, let's take back the ground that we have given him. Let's bind together as a family of God. We don't have to agree with one another's decisions, but we are Christians first. We are the body of Christ. We need to love one another, and we need to show grace to one another. I want to encourage you to be still and know that he is God, that he, God, is exalted above the nations and above the earth, that we, as the body of Christ, are not better off divided, but we are better off together. Mark 12:31, one of the teachers of the law came as he heard debating, and he asked Jesus which one of his commandments were the most important. Jesus answered in 1 John 4:18, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength. And the second is this, love your neighbor as yourself, because there is no greater commandment than this. And that's why that is our theme tonight. We are better off together. Whether we are in Zambia, whether we are in Myanmar, whether we are in Thailand, whether we are in the United States, whether we are in Australia, whether we are in Canada, we are all together. We are the body of Christ. And I love each and every one of you. This next part is, first of all, I want to introduce, I think we have two of our farm committee members here, Dave and Kevin. And this is something we are very proud of. This is our Canadians over in Zambia. So that's a lot of them, eh? So we have David and Shannon Dirksen, who are there going on their 4th year. And then we have the Acres with their children, Trinda and Evan, and they've been there 2 years. And then we have the Duluth family, Renee and John and their family, who are over there, and they're taking over the farm because the Acres are coming home. And then we have the Bismeyers, who were there, and they're helping out and being a blessing. So that is our family over in Zambia.
And now we're going to hear a little bit about farming in Zambia, a video that Trinda did of the farm, and we can see all the work that they've put in the last 2 years and all the crops that are growing there, and it's pretty exciting. And now the Duluths are there and they're taking over, and we're going to see where that goes from here.
friends. My name is John Chalkas. I'm the Executive Director for Seeds of Hope. And I just want to thank you for joining us tonight as we highlighted the events at the banquet and things we spoke about. And we had an awesome evening. We are so grateful for friends that show up every year to our banquets. And even you guys, a lot of people couldn't make it this year, but we had a lot of restrictions. So we're especially grateful for everyone that did show and gave and support us and pray with us. And we had an awesome time of fellowship and getting to see each other again. I just want to say how grateful we are because it's been a challenging year for everyone, but especially for our children and our staff overseas. And we have urgent needs in Myanmar because of the military coup and all the terrible things that's happening in that country. We're able to support them. We're able to get funds in and be able to get medical care for our kids. And we're so grateful that you're standing with us through these difficult times. We appreciate you. And again, thank you for joining us. If you'd like to give, please follow the links attached to this post. There's several ways you can do that. Go into our website, phone in the office, or even just putting it in the mail. Thank you for your prayerful consideration.